I need to tell you something that has kept me awake for the last 72 hours, and I am not a man who loses sleep easily. Before we begin, I need you to do something for me. Comment your city name below and tell me, have you noticed anything unusual in the night sky recently? Any flickers, any movements, anything that made you pause and wonder if what you were seeing was real? NASA isn't asking this publicly, but they need to know. They need to map where these observations are occurring. So please take a moment. Comment below. What I'm about to share may change the way you see humanity's place in the universe. I have spent my entire life studying the cosmos. I have written equations that describe the birth and death of stars. I have theorized about parallel universes, about dimensions folded into spaces smaller than an atom, about the very fabric of space-time itself. I have always approached the universe with wonder, yes, but also with the cold clarity of mathematics. Numbers do not lie, physics does not deceive. And yet what I witnessed 3 days ago in a classified briefing at a facility I cannot name has shaken the very foundation of everything I thought I understood about our place in this galaxy. It concerns an object, an interstellar object that entered our solar system in late 2024. You may have heard of it. The designation is 3I Atlas, the third confirmed interstellar visitor to pass through our cosmic neighborhood. When it was first detected, the astronomical community treated it as a curiosity, nothing more. Another icy wanderer from the vast darkness between stars, following a hyperbolic trajectory that would take it past our sun and back out into the infinite night. We had seen this before with Oumuamua, with Borisov, interstellar nomads passing through, indifferent to our existence, but 3I Atlas was different. I remember the first anomaly report. It came from a graduate student at the European Southern Observatory. She had been tracking the comet's light curve, the way its brightness changed as it tumbled through space. Standard procedure. Except the light curve was not standard, not at all. There were fluctuations, patterns in the reflected sunlight that should not have been there. At first, we thought it was instrument error, calibration issues. The equipment at these facilities is exquisitely sensitive, and sometimes, very rarely, you get false readings. But the readings persisted, and they were confirmed by 3 other observatories on 2 different continents. The object was not just reflecting light randomly as it tumbled, it was modulating. The brightness variations followed a sequence, a pattern. And patterns, my friends, do not emerge from chaos without reason. Patterns suggest order, intelligence, intent. I was brought into the analysis team. By then, the data had been classified. The public announcements about 3I Atlas continued as normal. A routine interstellar comet, mildly interesting to astronomers, invisible to everyone else. But behind closed doors, in secure facilities with armed guards and biometric scanners, a very different conversation was taking place. The modulations were not random. They were a carrier wave, a signal embedded in the reflected sunlight, as if the object itself was a transmitter, or perhaps a receiver, bouncing something back to us. When we decoded the frequency patterns, when we ran them through every cryptographic and linguistic analysis protocol we possessed, something emerged. Not language, not in any sense we understand it, but information, structured information, mathematical relationships, geometric forms, and buried within those forms, something that looked disturbingly like coordinates in space-time. I want you to understand the implications of what I am telling you. This object, this comet that originated from somewhere beyond our solar system, somewhere in the vast interstellar medium between stars, was transmitting spatial coordinates, not to a place, but to an opening, a passage, a threshold that did not exist before the object arrived. We detected the threshold on January 3rd. It appeared exactly where the coordinates indicated, approximately 47 astronomical units from the Sun, beyond the orbit of Neptune, in a region of space that should contain nothing but scattered ice and dust. The detection came from the James Webb Space Telescope, which had been quietly retasked to observe that specific region without public announcement. What Webb saw was impossible according to every model of physics we have ever constructed. Space was folded, curved inward on itself in a way that should require the mass of a stellar mass black hole. But there was no black hole, No massive object warping space-time, just an aperture, a wound in reality, approximately 300 kilometers across, perfectly circular, surrounded by a faint shimmer of Hawking radiation and exotic particles that should not exist outside of the first microseconds after the Big Bang. It stayed open for 6 hours. During those 6 hours, we observed something passing through, multiple somethings, objects or perhaps entities emerging from that impossible doorway and distributing themselves throughout the outer solar system. They moved with purpose. They took up positions at precise intervals, forming a geometric pattern around the solar system that resembles nothing so much as a containment grid, a perimeter. I have seen this configuration before in theoretical papers about Dyson swarms and stellar engineering. It is a pattern designed for monitoring, for control, for quarantine. That was the moment I realized we were no longer alone. But more terrifying than that we may never have been alone to begin with. And something out there has decided it is time to make that fact undeniable. I want to take you back for a moment, back to 2017, when Oumuamua passed through our solar system. Do you remember the controversy? The debates about its shape, its trajectory, the way it accelerated slightly as it rounded the sun without showing any signs of outgassing like a normal comet would? The scientific community split into factions. Some insisted it was a natural object, just oddly shaped. Others, including my colleague Avi Loeb at Harvard, suggested it might be artificial, a light sail, a probe, something sent by an intelligence beyond our own. The debate was never resolved. Oumuamua left our solar system before we could study it properly, disappearing back into the interstellar void. And most of us, myself included, allowed the controversy to fade. We returned to our equations, our theories, our comfortable assumption that we were essentially alone in a galaxy of dead rocks and burning gas. We were wrong. 3I Atlas is not like Oumuamua. It did not leave. It took up an orbit, a highly unusual orbit that keeps it permanently in the outer solar system. And it is still there right now, still transmitting, still modulating its reflected light in patterns we are only beginning to understand. And the objects that came through the passage it created, those geometric sentinels now positioned around our solar system, they are also still there, watching, waiting, recording. Recording what, you might ask? Recording us, our electromagnetic emissions, our radio and television broadcasts, our internet traffic, our military communications. They are cataloging human civilization in its entirety. And based on the trajectory analysis, based on the way these objects occasionally shift position and emit brief pulses of gravitational waves, they are sending reports. Back through passages we cannot detect, to destinations we cannot imagine, they are filing reports about us. We are being studied, evaluated, and I do not think we are passing the evaluation. Let me share with you a conversation I had 2 days ago with a colleague at SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. She has devoted 40 years of her life to scanning the skies for signals from advanced civilizations. She told me something that chilled me to my core. She said that in all those decades of searching, they had indeed detected anomalous signals, dozens of them. Signals that appeared artificial, that showed structure and intentionality. But every time they tried to announce a detection, every time they prepared to go public, the signal would stop abruptly, as if the source realized it had been noticed and fell silent. She said it was as if the galaxy was filled with civilizations, all desperately trying not to be heard, all hiding, all afraid. Afraid of what? I asked her. She looked at me with eyes that had witnessed decades of cosmic silence, and she said, afraid of being noticed by whatever is watching, whatever is deciding which civilizations are allowed to continue and which are not. This is the context in which we must understand 3I Atlas. This is the framework that makes sense of the passage it created and the objects that emerged. We are not discovering alien intelligence for the first time. We are being discovered, or more accurately, we have crossed some threshold, reached some level of technological development or electromagnetic visibility that has triggered a response, an intervention. The question that haunts me is this first contact or is this judgment? I have studied the Fermi paradox my entire career. The question of why, in a galaxy of hundreds of billions of stars, we seem to be alone. Where is everyone? Why have we not detected sprawling galactic civilizations, megastructures, networks of commerce and communication spanning the cosmos? The silence has always been deafening, and we have proposed many solutions. Perhaps life is rare. Perhaps intelligence is rarer still. Perhaps civilizations destroy themselves before they can spread to the stars. But there's another solution, one we have been reluctant to accept. Perhaps the galaxy is not silent because it is empty. Perhaps it is silent because it is controlled, because something, some force or intelligence or incomprehensibly advanced civilization enforces silence, maintains order, prevents younger species from expanding beyond their home systems until they meet certain criteria, until they prove themselves worthy, or until they prove themselves a threat that must be contained. The objects from 3I Atlas, these sentinels watching us from the darkness beyond Neptune, they have begun doing something new. Just yesterday, we detected them emitting synchronized pulses, gravitational wave bursts lasting only microseconds, but perfectly coordinated across all objects simultaneously. The pattern is complex, but we have identified what appears to be a countdown sequence embedded within it. A countdown that, based on our best analysis, will reach zero in approximately 43 days. What happens when it reaches zero? We do not know. We can only speculate. And our speculations range from the hopeful to the apocalyptic. Perhaps it is an invitation. Perhaps we are being tested. And the countdown marks the moment when we will receive knowledge, technology, an invitation to join some galactic community of spacefaring species. Perhaps humanity is about to take its place among the civilized worlds of the galaxy. Or perhaps the countdown marks the moment of our quarantine, the moment when the containment grid activates and humanity is sealed inside its own solar system, prevented from spreading outward, isolated until we either evolve into something acceptable or destroy ourselves in our isolation. Or perhaps, and this is the speculation that keeps me awake at night, perhaps the countdown marks the moment of our termination. Perhaps we have been evaluated and found wanting. Perhaps in the cold calculus of galactic ecology, humanity represents a threat, a virus that must be eliminated before it can spread. And in 43 days, those sentinels will activate and humanity will be sterilized as efficiently and dispassionately as you might sterilize a petri dish contaminated with dangerous bacteria. I do not know which future awaits us, but I know this: we are out of time for denial, out of time for comfortable assumptions about our uniqueness and our safety in a vast, indifferent cosmos. The cosmos is not indifferent, it is watching, and it has been watching for a very long time. There is something else I need to tell you, something that emerged from the deeper analysis of the signal patterns from 3I Atlas. When we ran the mathematical structures through our most advanced quantum computers, when we mapped the geometric relationships in hyperdimensional space, a message emerged, not in words, not in language, but in pure mathematical truth. A message that any civilization capable of advanced physics would understand. The message was simple and terrible. You are not the first. You will not be the last. This has happened before. We found references embedded in the data, coordinates in space-time, but not spatial coordinates, historical coordinates, temporal markers pointing to specific moments in Earth's history, moments that align with mass extinction events, the Permian extinction, when 90% of all species on Earth died, the Cretaceous extinction when the dinosaurs vanished, the Younger Dryas impact event that may have reset human civilization 12,000 years ago. Each marker was accompanied by the same geometric signature we now detect around our solar system, the same containment pattern, the same sentinel configuration. Do you understand what this means? It means that 3I Atlas, or things like it, have been here before. They have visited Earth during previous epochs, and each time they visited, mass extinction followed. Whether that extinction was caused by the visitors or was the reason for their visit, we cannot determine. The data is ambiguous, but the correlation is undeniable. We are living through a moment that has occurred multiple times in Earth's history, a moment of evaluation, a moment of decision by intelligences so far beyond us that we are to them as bacteria are to us. And if history is any guide, if the pattern holds, then the outcome is already determined. But here is the thing about patterns. They can be broken, they can be changed by awareness, by choice, by an act of collective will. If humanity knows what is coming, if we understand the test we face, perhaps we can respond differently than our ancestors did. Perhaps we can prove ourselves worthy of survival. That is why I am telling you this. Why I am violating classification protocols and risking everything I have built in my career. Because I believe that humanity deserves to know the truth, deserves a chance to make conscious choices in the face of cosmic judgment rather than stumbling blindly into extinction. So what should we do? How do we respond to an intelligence so advanced that it can tear holes in space-time, that can monitor an entire solar system with technology we cannot even begin to understand? How do we convince such a civilization that humanity is worth preserving? I have thought about this question endlessly, and I have come to believe that the answer lies not in our technology, not in our weapons or our spacecraft or our scientific achievements. Those things are trivial, childish toys compared to what these beings possess. No, if we are to be judged worthy, it must be based on something deeper, something essential to what makes us human, our capacity for change, our ability to recognize our flaws and transcend them, our potential for compassion, for cooperation, for looking beyond our immediate tribal interests, and seeing ourselves as one species, one family, one fragile experiment in consciousness, clinging to a small blue world in an infinite cosmos. We must show them that we are not a threat, not a virus to be eliminated, but a younger sibling in the family of galactic civilizations. Immature, yes. Violent and destructive and short-sighted, yes. But capable of growth, capable of wisdom, worthy of guidance rather than extermination. And we must do this quickly. In 43 days, give or take, the countdown reaches 0, and everything changes. I think about my granddaughter sometimes. She is 7 years old, she loves dinosaurs and space, and asking questions about how everything works. She has no idea that her future, that the future of every child on this planet, hangs in a balance being measured by incomprehensible intelligences in the darkness beyond Neptune. She goes to school and plays with her friends and dreams about becoming an astronaut someday. Will she get that chance? Will any of our children get to fulfill their dreams, to live full lives, to continue the human story into the centuries and millennia ahead? Or will we be just another failed experiment, another species that reached for the stars only to be pulled back down into extinction? I do not have those answers. I am just a physicist, a man who has spent his life studying equations and marveling at the elegant mathematics underlying reality. But I know this, the universe is stranger and more dangerous and more alive than we ever imagined. And we are not alone. We have never been alone. The question now is whether we can prove ourselves worthy of survival, whether we can transform from a species of violent, short-sighted primates into something greater, something that deserves a place in the galactic community. We have 43 days to answer that question. 43 days to decide what humanity will become. I will continue reporting on this situation as it develops. As more data emerges from the observatories, as we decode more of the transmissions from 3i Atlas, I will share what I can. Follow this channel as we continue decoding the universe's final warnings, because this story is not over. It is just beginning, and every person on Earth is now part of it. Look up at the night sky tonight, those points of light that seem so distant and peaceful. Know that beyond them, beyond the familiar planets and stars, beyond the edge of our solar system, something is watching, evaluating, deciding our fate. And the choice we make now as a species, as a civilization, as a family of conscious beings sharing this one precious world, that choice will echo through eternity. The passage that 3i Atlas created stayed open for 6 hours. 6 hours during which our entire future was rewritten. And now we wait to see what comes next. Wait to see if humanity's story continues or ends. Wait to discover whether we are about to experience first contact or final judgment. I want to leave you with a question I have been asking myself since the briefing 3 days ago. If you knew, truly knew, that we were being evaluated by an intelligence beyond our comprehension, if you knew that the survival of our species depended on proving ourselves worthy, how would you live differently? What would you change about your life, about your choices, about how you treat your fellow human beings? Would you hold on to your hatred and your divisions and your petty conflicts? Or would you recognize that in the face of cosmic judgment, all of humanity is one tribe, one family, one flickering candle of consciousness in an infinite darkness? What will you choose? And what will humanity choose in the 43 days we have left? Comment below. Tell me what you think. Tell me if you believe we can pass this test. Tell me if you have noticed anything unusual in your skies, because I need to know. We all need to know. We are in this together now, all 7 billion of us, and together we will face whatever comes when the countdown reaches 0. The universe is watching. What will it see?